Hello, a very good evening to you. Welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar.
And here are tonight's main stories.
Sick of the stench, the foul odour from a mountain of waste in Escrick, which residents say is blighting their lives.
It's hard to describe. I've never smelt a smell like it before. I used to work near a slaughterhouse and it sort of reminded me a bit of that.
The extremes of agriculture concern as this summer's unseasonably wet weather threatens the harvest and drives up costs.
If the crop is too wet, it has to go through our grain dryer, which obviously costs us to do so. So we have to buy diesel, which, as we all know, is incredibly expensive at the moment, which ultimately is undermining our bottom line when we then come to sell the crop later on.
Children learn how to stay safe in the water thanks to the legacy of a North Yorkshire man who lost his life at sea.
And calls for more volunteers to help train the incredible dogs changing the lives of people with hearing loss. But first tonight, businesses say the stench coming from a mountain of waste in a North Yorkshire village is costing them money and making their employees ill.
Well, the foul smell is coming from the premises of Acumen in Escrick near York. The Environment Agency is working to get the pile of processed waste moved, but has warned it'll get worse before it gets better. Well, our reporter Katie Oscroft has spent the day there. And Katie, just tell us how bad it is.
Well, Ian, you can't, of course, see this smell, but trust me, it is extremely unpleasant. It hits you when you so much as open your car window, and I'm told that this isn't even one of the worst days. Now, it's coming from a pile of waste over there, and that's effectively the far end of this business park, which contains not just your classic industrial units, but also a children's nursery and places where food is being prepared. And to add to the woes of the people who work here, when the lorries who are trying to clear the waste from this site are on the move, they go right through the business park, and when they do, that makes it worse.
Stumble trip, stumble trip, stumble trip.
These nursery children are having fun inside, but on a sunny day, there's a reason why they can't play out.
You can see the smell as soon as you walk out.
Outside,
it hits you. So we're keeping doors, windows closed, and children should be outside.
A warning on the nursery door is because of this. A mountain of waste, a stench so awful it makes people feel ill. You say you ring the Environment Agency?
Daily.
And it's a score of 1 to 6. What is it today?
Today is probably a 4-5. Monday and Tuesday we had it as a 6.
But the effects of this are financial as well as unpleasant.
It's affecting business. I'm not the only business in the business park that it's affecting. There's multiple businesses. People aren't going to want to come and look round as prospective parents because I would be put off coming to look round a nursery in a smell like this.
The Environment Agency did react to Emily's calls. Lorries now queue to take away the waste, which was, it says, stored unsuitably, causing the smell. Steve says it's affecting his business and when he goes home 5 miles away.
As the wind picks it up and wafts it around, it drifts over to Stillingfleet. There's quite a few people in the village that are smelling the same thing. I like to sleep with my window open, but recently it's got to be closed because the smell can wake you up.
One of our colleagues from work yesterday, when she got in a car late yesterday evening, she could still smell the smell in the car because obviously the car had been parked in the car park all day. It smells like rotting, decaying dead bodies. I've never smelt anything like it.
Richard came to buy a car and drove straight back home. You just arrived to look for a car for your wife, and
yeah, it's our wedding anniversary, and I thought I'd treat her, but I can't stay around here. It's absolutely disgusting, is the smell.
James and Kevin know they're losing business.
It doesn't go away really. It's here all the time, and it's something that is very difficult to work with on a daily basis, and it's upsetting a lot of staff and a lot of customers that we have into our business.
And do you think you're losing business because of it?
I think certain people have come and said, oh, that smells absolutely horrendous, and disappeared and gone. And my staff have asked me many times, can we go home?
People who work here believe they should be compensated for what they're going through, and they're concerned about any long-term effects from this awful smell.
Well, Katie, we're certainly relieved that smell-o-vision hasn't been invented. So what's happening to sort this out?
Well, Ian, the Environment Agency is now closely monitoring this site, and I should say we made several attempts to contact Acumen, the company which runs it, with no success. But the people who are having to work here say this process, which was brought about by the Environment Agency of clearing the site, could take until Christmas, and they will have the smell until then. They're not happy about that. They're also talking about compensation, and they want to know whether all of this will have any long-term effect on their health. All they know is it is a mixture of municipal and construction waste which has been dumped here, but they know no more than that.
Katie Oscroft reporting from Escrick. Thank you.
Well, next tonight, after one of the wettest Julys on record following the hottest ever June, farmers are bracing themselves for the financial impact as crops that should have been harvested remain in the field.
Well, while there's been sunshine over the last few days, it's feared that the recent excess of rainfall has already damaged crop quality, and that's against a backdrop of rising food inflation and global market pressures. Adam Fowler has been to Woollis Grange Farm near York.
Trudging through wheat that should have been harvested by now. Instead, it's stuck in a sodden field, an investment withering on the vine.
The ground conditions, as you can see, are saturated, so the combine may risk sinking and we will potentially damage some of our soil structures too.
This week has brought sunnier weather. It's a welcome relief for James, but the damage may already be done.
This should be malting barley, but may now only be good enough for animal feed because of the impact of the weather.
This time last year, around half of James's crops would already have been harvested. Instead, it's only around 10%. And the war in Ukraine means that these crops were already some of the most expensive James has ever seen before they were even grown, with the conflict driving up the price of fertiliser, chemicals and fuel. And now there's going to be an additional cost too.
If the crop is too wet, it has to go through our grain dryer, which obviously costs us to do so. So we have to buy diesel, which, as we all know, is incredibly expensive at the moment, which ultimately is undermining our bottom line when we then come to sell the crop later on.
Last month was the UK's 6th wettest July since records began in 1836, with 140 millimetres of rainfall. Compare that with this time last year, which saw a series of heat waves and temperatures reach as high as 40 degrees. On this farm around 9 miles south of York, the rainfall was even higher. The NFU says the erratic weather is why there should be greater investment in British farming.
It would be a folly to rely on imports. As soon as you start to see shortages, then if we don't have that food produced here, then that could have some real detrimental effects to supply.
Relying solely on the ability to import from Germany or from Canada or the US leaves us open to weather changes in those countries as well. If we've got that productive capacity in the UK, then we can respond as an industry. We need the confidence to do that though. We're talking about big investments in machinery or grain dryers, and actually even growing the crop itself is increasingly becoming a very financially challenging thing to do.
So does that mean more help from the government then?
Government needs to send the right signals to make sure that UK agriculture is wanted and needs therefore to be supported. It doesn't necessarily have to be money, but providing regulation that doesn't tie us in knots and make life harder when it's hard enough sometimes with the weather would be much appreciated.
With the warmer weather this week, it's a turn of fortune that couldn't come soon enough. Adam Fowler, ITV News, Appleton Roebuck near York.
Well, we did approach the government about the concerns raised by the farmers in Adam's report, but they are yet to respond.
Well, next, when Andrew McGowan drowned 8 years ago off Scarborough while trying to rescue his dog, his family and friends were determined there should be some kind of positive legacy from the tragedy.
And spearheaded by Andrew's sister Donna, they've been true to their word. In fact, they've now helped to pay for almost 7,000 children to be given vital water safety lessons in the years since Andrew died. John Hill joined them on the beach.
A carefree frolic in the surf.
Don't panic, relax.
But also a lesson which could just save a youngster's life. These children at Scarborough's North Bay are being taught how not to panic if they get into difficulties and instead float like a starfish to live. And it's a message that's getting through.
We did the star position to stop cold water shock, and then we did the huddle position to keep everybody's body warmth together.
Children account for more than a third of all RNLI beach lifeguard rescues in the summer. But it was the death in 2015 of 32-year-old Andrew McGowan who drowned as he tried to rescue his dog, which prompted his loved ones to devote their time and energy to passing water safety skills onto the next generation. His sister Donna now teams up with the RNLI and Swim England for these very practical lessons.
I wanted it to be something positive and big that came out of Andrew's. You know, it's exciting, isn't it, that all of these kids are getting to experience something and get something really good out of something really sad that happened to Andrew.
It's clear, though, that up and down our coast there have been plenty of near misses, tragedies narrowly avoided.
The RNLI says that along the East Coast last summer, its lifeguards helped more than 1,500 people. But there's a much smaller, but perhaps more important figure. They saved the lives of 8 beachgoers who were in imminent danger of drowning.
I think it's been great. I think this initiative is really good. I think it's really important to educate these children and to show them how to be safe in the sea.
It's great that it's a session that the children can have some fun, but can learn a really important lesson in terms of sea safety. You know, we come quite often, so we can have confidence that they're safe. They know what to do if they got into any difficulty.
If you fall in water unexpectedly, you naturally will panic. But it's really important to try and calm down your breathing, take some deep breaths, get in that starfish shape, and then you can make your next move.
The lessons will continue at Scarborough for the next fortnight. Whether the sunshine stays the course, well, that's anyone's guess. John Hill, ITV News, Scarborough.
Such a positive legacy there, created by Andrew's family. Well, you are watching Wednesday's calendar. Stay with us because still to come, the calls for more volunteers to help train the very special dogs who make a huge difference to people with hearing loss.
And with the drier and sunnier weather this week, we've had some lovely sunrise and sunsets like this one in Weldrake. A big thank you to Andrew and also to Lorna for this one at 5:30 a.m. in Pudsey. It's going to be warmer tomorrow and I'll have more of your photos a little later on.
But first, a man's been charged with arson more than 18 months after a roof fire ripped through a 14th century pub in North Yorkshire. The blaze devastated the Star Inn at Harham near Helmsley in November 2021, causing more than £2 million worth of damage. The pub reopened to customers a year later. North Yorkshire Police said a 28-year-old man from Helmsley is due to appear at Scarborough Magistrates Court on the 14th of August.
Water firms in our region are facing legal action over claims they've been under-reporting sewage discharges. Yorkshire Water and Severn Trent Water are among 6 firms being investigated. More than £800 million could be owed to customers in compensation if they're found at fault. The industry body Water UK called it a speculative claim without merit.
A petition has been launched in Sheffield asking the council to take back control of street cleaning services. Campaigners claim contractors Amy, who took over in 2012, are not doing a good enough job. Amy said their teams work tirelessly across the city and are battling against fly tipping.
Now then, bidding wars, cash up front, even auditions apparently are just some of the situations people wanting to rent a home are finding themselves in.
According to the English Housing Survey, there are currently 8.5 million households renting in the UK. But due to a lack of available housing, the market is seeing more people having to bid against each other and pay above the asking price for properties.
Well, there are now calls for the government to step in and fix what's being described as Britain's broken rental market. Katie Ridley has more.
Jeannie has been looking for a home to rent for the past 3 months. Her landlords are selling the flat she currently lives in. She says finding a place has been impossible, with some renters turning up with large amounts of cash just to secure a property.
4 of us turned up at the same time. I turned up on time, a couple turned up early, another one turned up late. So that's 4 of us all in one go. One girl there, we got chatting and she had the money on her for a deposit straight away. And again, that wasn't in great condition. The photographs wasn't reflecting what the property was like.
Jeannie's story seems typical of the situation many renters are facing right now. According to Zoopla, the typical let has increased by 11%. Many estate agents like Mark Manning in Leeds blame bidding wars on lack of available housing.
But the demand is so high, we're receiving on average 50 inquiries minimum per property that comes to the market. And you can only imagine the strain that puts on the service, and quite honestly, we don't need all those tenants to go and let just one property. It's just, the demand is just too high.
The government says the Renters Reform Bill promises a better deal for both landlords and for tenants. It says it's doing all it can to bring the rental market into the 21st century by investing in new homes and affordable housing. But the lack of available properties isn't the only issue. The cost of living crisis, rising mortgage rates and inflation are putting pressure on landlords.
But if we look at the Savills report of a couple of weeks or so ago, landlords are actually making a lower return, or the lowest return since 2004. So it's not as if landlords are profiting off of the back of this crisis. They're simply trying to keep afloat.
It seems to be a global issue right now. New Zealand has actually banned bidding wars, while a rent cap has been put in place in Scotland. But there's pressure for more to be done here.
The government needs to step in. We need to have more homes built. We need to have more choice for renters about where they go, because otherwise they're going to be trapped in poor quality accommodation, or they're going to be trapped in bidding wars which they can't succeed in and find themselves on the streets.
Some regulation needs to be introduced. This is a free-for-all. It's a serious free-for-all, and it's just snowballing into a nightmare for thousands of people.
It's a big issue for those in the rental market, and it's showing no signs of being over soon. Katie Ridley, ITV News.
If you're looking to rent, good luck. Now then, after calendar, it's the ITV Evening News at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Lucrezia Millerini.
A critical incident is declared in Northern Ireland. It's after the details of thousands of police officers and staff are accidentally released online, with concerns now for their safety. Could you be due a refund on your water bill? The £800 million lawsuit against 6 water companies accused of underreporting pollution and overcharging customers. And are younger people falling out of love with some of our great British puddings? Well, one study says yes, they are. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Thank you, Lucrezia. Now, though, it's time for a roundup of all last night's football action.
Xero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
And many a manager in our region will have been thanking their goalkeepers for securing their place in the next round of the EFL Cup.
Yes, 4 games involving our teams went to spot kicks. 3 of them won thanks to some excellent work between the posts. Arif Ahmed has the roundup of last night's winners.
Bradford City are safely through to the next round of the Cup thanks to the quick reflexes of Harry Lewis. Korede Adedoyin slipped when taking his spot kick for Accrington, but it still looked to be heading in until Lewis managed to get his fingertips to the ball. There was no such drama though for Clark O'Dur, who scored the winning penalty for Bradford. Sheffield Wednesday were given an almighty scare by League 2 Stockport. Tyreek Baconson saved the Owls' blushes with a last-minute equaliser to send the game to penalties. Then, on debut, Davis Vasquez saved 2 spot kicks as Cisco Munoz picked up his first competitive win as Wednesday boss. Along the parkway, it was almost a carbon copy story at Rotherham. They also came from behind to take their game with Morecambe to penalties. Keeper Dylan Phillips, the hero there, also saving 2 spot kicks. Grant McCann got one over his former employers as Doncaster dumped Hull out the cup. George Miller cancelled out Oscar Estupinion's early goal. The striker didn't know too much about his second as Harrison Biggin's shot deflected off the 24-year-old's head and past Matt Ingram. Harrogate stretched their unbeaten run against Carlisle to 7 games. Sam Follerin opened his account in North Yorkshire, scoring the only goal of the game. And Mansfield are also in the hat for the second round for the first time in 5 years. Lucas Akins opened the scoring from 12 yards. Rhys Oates then made sure of the win with a cultured finish from the outside of his boot. There'll be no cup runs for Huddersfield or Barnsley, who both lost. Arif Ahmed, ITV News.
And there you go.
I know, some impressive goalkeeping going on there.
Certainly was. Kerry's here now.
Hiya.
Hello. How's it
Stop
looking?
press, day 3 of dry weather.
Fantastic.
I know, we saw a little bit of cloud around today. Lots of places seeing a mackerel sky, amazing sky actually this morning. So we had a little bit of mackerel sky. I've never seen one. So you just get the basically it's like the skin of a mackerel. So you get like a dimpling effect and a sort of a layered effect. So what happens is you get an area of moisture trapped in the sky, and then you've got a west and northwesterly, which in the higher winds sort of creates that rippling effect. So didn't produce any rain at all, but it looked like that this morning. That's how I drove up to up the M1 up to work this morning. Absolutely fabulous. And some cirrus cloud. That's the higher cloud, that's the whispery cloud in the ice crystals, Ian, up in the higher atmosphere, still not giving us any rain. But it was this morning at sunrise and sunset that we saw some amazing shots. So a big thank you to Andy Brooke for this one. I couldn't choose between Jenna's. She sent about 10 amazing photographs, so a big thank you to Jenna for this one, also to Barbara for this one. Lots of you were really early because sunrise is about 5:30. I was asleep, but Ellie wasn't. She's from Barlick and this is the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. Wonderful reflections there. But this summer, what do you think so far this summer? Rubbish? Nice?
Yeah, pretty rubbish, I'd say.
We're actually currently our 14th warmest summer since 1884. Because the temperatures really haven't been that cold. We of course had a very hot June and we've had average temperatures so far this summer. And then the last time we hit 25 degrees, I've had to look back all the way to the 9th of July, which was in Hull in East Yorkshire for the last time we hit 25 degrees. But we are going to hit 25 degrees tomorrow for one day only. Very, very warm currently in Spain and Portugal. They've actually got a wildfire warning. We're just importing a tiny bit of that air as we head through into tomorrow. A very brief spell of mild and muggy air before the oranges and the yellows come back towards us for the weekend.
Just a tease.
Just a tease.
But full forecast coming up.
Of course, as always.
We'll see you soon, Kerry. Thank you. Now then, to the incredible animals that are changing the lives of people with hearing loss across our region and the call for more people to help train them.
Yes, we like this story. The Hearing Dogs for Deaf People charity, which has a training centre near York, says the rising demand for pets that can help alert their owners to sounds like fire alarms and cooker times isn't being matched by the number of volunteer trainers coming forward.
Bosses say they need 50 people to come forward to help transform daily life for many more. Jonathan Brown reports.
They're best friends with an extra special bond.
It's a good boy.
That's because Joe's poodle, Joey, has been by her side through her biggest challenge, adjusting to life with hearing loss and people's failure to understand it.
You meet intolerance every day, you meet difficulties every day. I have had somebody actually push into me physically and I've actually had a trolley in the back of my legs.
Jo spent years struggling with tinnitus before she became profoundly deaf. 7 years ago, Joey joined her on her journey, his presence transformational.
I've regained my independence, sorry. I don't have to rely on anybody. I'm not going to miss the doorbell. I'm not going to miss the fire alarm. I'm completely safe. I've got independence and companionship and yeah, he's amazing. Completely changed my life.
And his impact could even be life-saving. He's been specially trained to alert her to sounds like this by practising at the Hearing Dogs for the Deaf charity's centre near York.
They're mock houses so that our volunteers and trainers can practice working with a dog just like we would do in real life.
The facility helps coach volunteers to train puppies for the first 2 years of their lives. But as demand grows from the deaf community, so does the need for trainers.
We've got a waiting list of deaf partners ready to receive a dog. What we ask from our volunteers is that they can provide a loving and caring home and that they've got the time to input into training a dog and we support them all the way through that.
Ali's among those helping guide the next generation coming through the Hearing Dogs puppy pipeline. Hope the Black Labrador is 14 months old and gaining the skills she needs to help others.
They absolutely change people's lives for the better. It's amazing what they can do, and having a role in helping that along the way is marvellous.
So whether you'd like to get a much closer look at their training or even help guide them yourself, It's hoped more people with hearing loss can soon enjoy a partnership like no other. Jonathan Brown, ITV News.
Lots of oohing and cooing in my ear from the gallery there, but they're not just cute, they do such a vital job.
Yeah, lovely little Joey there, lovely. Now then, here's Kerry with the weather.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thank you. Hello again. Yes, we didn't do too badly across the region today. Even with that cloud, that mackerel sky first thing this morning, still looking beautiful across the region. A big thank you to Angie Holpin for this shot and also to Bill Milthorpe for this one. Weather photos at itv.com. And when the sun came out, it really did feel already quite warm across the region today. Warmer still as we head into tomorrow. Actually quite humid and quite muggy, but dry and sunny. Fresher by Friday and then showers by the weekend. We lose the high pressure basically by Friday. This little system freshening things up, and then for the weekend itself, low pressure bringing breezier conditions with showers never too far away, especially on Saturday. In the meantime, lovely evening and staying dry and clear for most of tonight. Maybe a few mist and fog patches towards dawn, but temperatures even in the towns and cities, we're looking at 16, 17, in rural spots 11 to 13. It got to just below 6 Celsius at Topcliffe last night, so it was a chilly one last night under the clear skies, a milder one tonight. 5:35 and 8:47 are your sun times for tomorrow. It's a lovely day, mostly dry, a few mist and fog patches perhaps during the morning, maybe a little bit of cloud during the afternoon, but for most of us it's dry and sunny. Warm to very warm, temperatures well above the average of around 21, 21.5 degrees. We're looking at 26, 27. Will be a bit of a southerly breeze. Don't let that catch you out. The UV sunburn risk is still high at this time of the year in August. Then we've got this little system coming through early Friday. It will freshen things up on Friday, but scattered showers, sunny spells, still feeling nice in the sunshine, and then showery for the weekend, especially the first half.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
There you go. Briefly, very warm.
We're looking forward to it,
We are,
aren't we?
brief as it may be.
We might get a little sunbathe outside.
You
a
never
lunch
know.
break.
You never know. We'll hope. That's all for now, though. I'll be back at 10:30. We'll see you then.
Have a very good evening, won't you? Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.